A lot of things going on that are very unpleasant in our world. And that's why we're studying Psalm 37 this morning, because David is going to teach us not to be all hot and bothered by all the things that are wrong in our lives. Psalm 37 is the text, as you can see. It's an alphabetical psalm. That is to say, the letters of the Hebrew alphabet are given in sequence with a couple of exceptions all the way through. So you get a couple verses with an aleph and then a couple verses with a beth and so forth all the way through the psalm, an alphabetical psalm. Why it isn't perfectly that way, I don't know. But there are a couple places where there's like one verse instead of two verses with change, and there are a couple where it substitutes a different letter instead of the one that you would be expecting. Here we go. Verse 1. Do not fret because of evildoers. Be not envious towards wrongdoers, for they will wither quickly like the grass and fade like the green herb. To fret means to become hot or angry. Has those two concepts. And here we're talking about being hot or angry because people are doing the wrong thing, doing evil. Not only are they doing evil, but they are also prospering in the process. They're richer than we are. They're whatever. They're doing better than we are, and we tend to say, wow, that's not the way that should be. And we're being taught by the Lord here not to let that bother us. Don't fret because of evil doers. But be not envious towards wrongdoers. Jealous or envious. It's a poetic parallel. You see, the do not fret and the be not envious. In Hebrew, the poetry, as we've said many times, puts ideas together instead of the sounds together. And so in this poetry, the fretting and the envy are re-expressions with slight difference of the same thing. Why not fret? Because they will wither quickly like the grass and fade like the green herb. Wither quickly doesn't mean immediately. You knew that by observation, right? I mean, they're doing evil, and 10 years from now they're still doing evil and they're still prospering. Or maybe not. But when it says they will wither quickly, it means when it happens, it's going to be very quick. That's what it's saying. They will wither quickly. What should we do instead of fretting? Well, we have another verse that's going to talk about that. Trust in the Lord and do good, dwell in the land and cultivate faithfulness. In other words, go about your life with faith and faithfulness. Be fully engaged in doing good works. Trust the Lord and do good. Let that crowd out worry about the wicked. In other words, instead of having time to worry about the wicked, be so focused on your good works and your life and what God has given you that you don't think about those things. The word cultivate here is a Hebrew imperative. It's commanding us something to do. Cultivate. What are we to cultivate? We are to cultivate truth. Verily is truth, it's honesty, it's steadfast. Verily is a noun. So it is saying to us, this is the thing. It's the object that we are to cultivate. This is not promising us that we will be fed. It's telling us to feed on truth or on faithfulness. So there are four things here for us to do. First, trust the Lord. If you trust the Lord, then He's going to take care of it. Whatever it is that's causing you anxiety about the people doing wrong, trust in the Lord. Second is do good. We are not saved by doing good, but when we are saved, we will do good. So it's saying, do that, practice that. Thirdly, it's dwell in the land. In other words, live your life. Here you are, you've got this great land. You've got the things that God has provided for us. Enjoy those things instead of focusing on the people who are doing wrong. And then the fourth thing is to cultivate truth or faithfulness. The truth or faithfulness, it could be either thing here. That's why I'm putting the two of them together. Cultivate that. In the New Testament, we're told to think on what kind of things? The things that are of good report. The good things. And this is somewhat like that. Cultivate truth and faithfulness. Then we have verse 4 here, which says, delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. Okay, you're concerned about these people. They're doing wrong and they're prospering, and that ought not to be. This is telling you, delight in the Lord, and He will give you what you want. Now, what you want and what they want are probably going to be two entirely different things. But what you want is governed by the fact that you are delighting in the Lord. You delight in the Lord, and because you delight in the Lord, that shapes what you want. And then when your wants have been shaped, God is pleased to give you the desires of your heart. Now, if you're still desiring the things that the world wants and God doesn't want you to have, then there's some adjustment that needs to be made in the area of the delighting. Delight in the Lord. Delight comes from a word that means to pamper or be soft. Delight, take comfort, like reclining on a soft pillow. Delight in the Lord. Enjoy the promise and the advantage that you have. Enjoy what God has given you instead of fretting about what others are doing. Desires are opposed to envy. Instead of envying them, we're going to have our own desires, and our desires are going to be met because we're delighting in the Lord. Commit your way to the Lord. That word commit comes from a word for roll of all things. And the idea is you're rolling your burdens off onto the Lord. It's the same word is used for rolling a stone away. And that appears more than once in the scriptures. So you remember there were some kings that got trapped in a cave during the time that Joshua was bringing the children of Israel into the promised land. And they said, we're going to continue with this battle. It was the day the sun didn't go down on time. You remember that one, the long day? And so they just rolled a stone in front of the cave and went on with the fight. And that word roll is the same we have here for commit your way into the Lord. Your way here is the totality of your life. The governance of where you're going to go, what you're going to do, what you're going to do for work, what you're going to do in marriage, what you're going to do. The whole thing, your way. The whole thing, commit your way. Roll your direction of your way off onto the Lord and let Him carry it. You can trust Him. You leave it with God, and God is going to direct you in the very best. Then we have verse 7. Oops, we have verse 6. Well, we probably ought to talk about verse 6 too. He will bring forth your righteousness as the light and your judgment as the noonday. He's going to bring forth your righteousness. Now, your concern might be that people are going to misunderstand you. You're not going to suffer ultimately. Maybe somebody has slandered you. Maybe somebody says, don't trust that crumb bum. And you're thinking your reputation's been ruined. People have reported things. You can't answer back sufficiently to take care of it. And we're being told God's going to bring forth your righteousness. He's going to say, you live right. Commit yourself to the Lord and just wait for Him to bring your right to light. The fact that you've done right, let Him bring it to light, because He's going to do it. Now, is He going to do it today or tomorrow? Not necessarily. People might think you're a crumb bum for a long time, and you might have to really deal with that. But you're dealing with it inside, because what are you doing? You're trusting in the Lord. I know I have done right, and I know that God is committed to bringing the thing that I have done right to light. What kind of light's He going to bring it to? He's going to bring it to light like the noonday. The Hebrew way of saying the noonday is double light. He's going to bring it to double light. The light, intense focus on the light, on the fact that you did right. And who's going to see to it that that happens? That's God going to see to it that happens. Just leave it to God. Then we can go on to verse 7. Rest in the Lord and wait patiently for Him. Now this is one we're not too fond of. I know that. The patiently part, the wait patiently part. We would like these things to be corrected right away. We would like the righteous to prosper and the wicked to suffer. And today would be a good day for that. And we're being told here, trust and wait. Rest in the Lord, wait patiently for Him. The word rest is most often translated be silent. So somebody has maligned you, and what are you going to do? Just be silent. What did Jesus do when He was maligned? Opened not His mouth. He was just silent. And was His righteousness brought to light? Rather marvelously, wasn't it? And God promises the same to you. Rest in the Lord and wait patiently for Him. So it doesn't really matter if it takes a while before your righteousness comes to light, does it? The important thing is that's where it finishes. God may let it ride for a while, but He hasn't forgotten it. And He has committed Himself to see to it that when you have done right, when your heart is right, when you've done the right thing, when you've been pleasing to Him, He's going to put that on display. He's going to make that shine like the noon light, and not on a foggy day. This isn't typical Fort Bragg stuff. Do not fret because of him who prospers in his way, because of the man who carries out wicked schemes. Cease from anger and forsake wrath. Do not fret. It leads only to evil doing. For evildoers will be cut off, but those who wait for the Lord will inherit the land. Prosperity from wicked schemes. People seem to be prospering from the wicked things they're doing. Is that happening in our world today? Does it look like people are doing wicked things and prospering in the process? Boy, it really does, doesn't it? I've been reading about Wells Fargo. Oh my, yeah. They say it was the employees. We didn't want to do that. We don't know, maybe it was. But it looks to me like they've been prospering, and here it says, cease from anger and forsake wrath. Do not fret, it only leads to evil doing. For evildoers will be cut off. Evildoers will be cut off. Volkswagen. Have you read about Volkswagen? You've read about them too, haven't you? Athletes, football players, baseball players, people down at the Olympic Games. Evildoers are going to be cut off. How about politicians? Don't even have to bring that one up, do we? Yeah. Even the police sometimes are being caught up. And I want you to know that I think that the police, for the most part, are doing right. But even some of them have got caught up in the wrong thing. These are hard days for being police. It used to be that the report that was written and the thing that was known publicly was what the policeman put down. And these days, you don't know who's got their camera running. Most of us didn't even have video cameras, did we? But now, I got one in my pocket. How about you? Probably several of them in this room right now. We could do videotaping. So I better be careful what I say, huh? Oh, wait a minute, there is a camera running here. Okay. But God says, all these things, don't worry about that. Don't let that get you upset. Don't get hot and bothered about that. God doesn't need for you to be angry about it. He's not getting hot and bothered about it. He says, you cease from anger about what the wicked are doing, because it's going to lead you to do evil. You're going to think, I got to do something about that. Watch out, because that might lead you into doing something you ought not. Those who do evil will be cut off. You know, for me to live is Christ and to die is gain, says Paul. So to leave this life is better, but it's amazing how many times the Scripture encourages us that there's a blessing from the Lord of long life. And that means life here, continuing. And the wicked being cut off means that they don't stay here so long. And I just always kind of watch. Somebody's died, and I always want to know, how old was he? And sometimes, no, a lot of the times, it's the wicked being cut off. You know what the world likes to say? The world likes to say the good die young. God says the wicked are cut off. That's kind of like dying young, isn't it? So does that happen every time? I don't remember your name already. Daryl and Debbie? Harold and Debbie. Delighted. They're from Washington. Harold had the answer to that. Yeah, the wicked don't always die. There's always the interview with a person that's 103 or 4 years old, and they want to know, how did you make it? And they say it was from drinking whiskey. Or, you know, lots of answers that you might not want to hear from. And some people just have that kind of genetics, it seems like. But what God is telling us is that He cuts people off short. And that happens very often. Not every time, but very often. Cease from anger. God's going to take care of it. Psalm 55:23. Men of bloodshed and deceit will not live out half their days. God's on it. He's taking care of it. Proverbs 10:27. The fear of the Lord prolongs life, but the years of the wicked will be shortened. So, God is telling us what He does. And you're not supposed to fret, because the person who's doing wicked is not prospering from it. And even if he does live out a full measure of days, he's going to be cut off then. So God says, don't fret about it, I've got that. It's not your responsibility to worry about that. Your responsibility is to serve the Lord, to dwell in the land, to focus on what you're supposed to do, enjoy the good things He's given you, and let Him take care of the wicked. Those who do right are going to inherit the land. Blessed are the gentle, for they shall inherit the earth, we were told in the Beatitudes. The gentle are going to inherit the earth. Has that happened yet? Have the gentle got the title deed to the whole world now? But you know, we're studying in the book of Revelation just exactly when it does happen, on Sunday evenings. And God says He's going to cut off all the wicked. They're not even going to be here. You look for their place and they're gone. They're not here anymore. And then the righteous are going to do what? They're going to inherit absolutely everything here. Everything. It's all going to belong to the righteous. So, do you have to wait for a while? Yeah, you do. That's God's plan. We're being told to wait on the Lord. But we're also being assured where it's going to come out. And where it comes out is really the most important thing. Psalm chapter 37, verse 10, yet a little while, and the wicked man will be no more. And you will look carefully for his place, and he will not be there. But the humble will inherit the land and will delight themselves in abundant prosperity. Look carefully. And that makes me think of lands that are identified with certain people. Now, I'm not going to name names here because I don't think that's appropriate at this point. But if you follow these things, any at all, you read from time to time that here is the house that used to be owned by this person. Here is the land that used to be theirs. They want to sell it now for $40 million, whatever. And you look around and where's the person? Well, they are not there. They are gone. Yet a little while, and the wicked man will be no more. You will look carefully for his place, and he will not be there. But the humble will inherit the land and will delight themselves in abundant prosperity. When the righteous inherit the land, they are going to delight themselves in abundant prosperity. So the thing that we might fret about and shouldn't fret about is the prosperity of the wicked. They're being wicked, they're prospering, they're living long, I don't like it. Forget about it. Not important. Because when the time comes for God to exalt the righteous, they're going to have prosperity, and their prosperity is going to last forever. For absolutely forever. 5 contrasts. Verse 12, the wicked plots against the righteous and gnashes at him with his teeth. The Lord laughs at him, for he sees his day is coming. The Lord laughs. Does God laugh?
Yeah.
We've got it right there on the wall, don't we? God laughs. Who's he laughing at? The wicked who are plotting against the righteous. Now, you might prefer the Lord to get kind of upset and do something right now, but God's busy laughing. He's laughing at them because they're all in an uproar. They think they're going to do something. God knows where. He can see already. He knows what it's going to be whenever the time comes. And it's not going to be good for this guy that's doing all this raging and laughing. So, he's plotting, he's gnashing his teeth, and the Lord is laughing, for he sees his day is coming. There's another contrast here. Verse 14. The wicked have drawn sword and bent their bow to cast down the afflicted and needy, to slay those who are upright in conduct. Their sword will enter their own heart, and their bows will be broken. Contrast here is between the evil they are planning and the result that's really going to be. They are planning a wickedness with their weapons. They've got their guns, they've got their knives, they've got whatever, and they're going to do something with them against the righteous, and they're going to be turned back against them. It's kind of like the Old Testament law concerning digging a pit and falling into it yourself. It's that kind of an idea. The weapons working against the wicked. There's a third contrast here, verse 16. Better is the little of the righteous than the abundance of many wicked. For the arms of the wicked will be broken, but the Lord sustains the righteous. God says, you don't have as much, but yours is better. Okay, if you're righteous, I'm going to assume that you are. If you're righteous, then the little that you have is better than the totality, cumulatively, of many of the wicked. What you have is better because the arms of the wicked will be broken, but the Lord sustains the righteous. Now, when it says the arms of the wicked are going to be broken, that's kind of a poetical way of saying that their ability to do is going to be stopped. Some of you have had broken arms. And when your arm is broken, what do you do with it? Put it in a cast, put it in a sling, and wish you could use it, because it's not doing anything. And this is saying that the arms of the wicked are going to be broken. It's a way of saying they're going to be cut off. Their strength is going to be gone. Their ability to do is going to be at an end. But the Lord sustains the righteous. God is in the business of keeping you going. Isn't that a nice thought? God sustains the righteous. There's another contrast here. Verse 18. The Lord knows the days of the blameless, and their inheritance will be forever. They will not be ashamed in the time of evil, and in the days of famine they will have abundance. God knows the days. He knows all that we do. He knows today and how it's going to shape up as we go on through the day. He knows tomorrow. He knows what's a year from now and 1,000 years from now. God knows the days of the blameless, and their inheritance will be forever. Going to have an inheritance. You say, well, I don't have a rich father. I don't have a rich uncle. How am I going to have an inheritance? I want to suggest to you, you've got the richest father of them all. Amen. The Lord God Almighty. And He's going to make a new earth. I mean, He's going to make a new heavens and a new earth, and He doesn't need any of it. How about that? And He's going to let you inherit it. If you're the righteous. It pays to be the righteous. The Lord knows the days of the blameless, and their inheritance will be forever. They will not be ashamed in the time of evil, and in the days of famine they will have abundance. God tends to watch out for us and provide for us when others are having real difficulty. So things are not going well, people are really suffering, and God sometimes let us suffer along with it so that He can show that we can respond with joy. You do, don't you? Even when things are slender and not going as well as you'd like. Sometimes He lets us put on a display like that. But God's basic purpose for us is to see to it that we always have enough supply. It's like when Israel was down in Egypt and the plagues were going on, and there was darkness all over the land, but there was light in the dwellings of the Israelites. God makes a difference. He's able to do that. And it says here that in days of famine they will have abundance, but the wicked will perish, and the enemies of the Lord will be like the glory of the pastures. They vanish like smoke, they vanish away. He knows all that he will do. He knows the days. And he's going to see to it that the righteous are not ashamed and that the wicked perish. Now, don't let that difference between translations bother you. Sometimes people have difficulty when a translation is quite a bit different than another translation. One translation speaks of the fat of lambs here, and ours speaks of the glory of the pastures. And you say, how is it possible to be anywhere close? How could one passage be translated fat of lambs and glory of the pastures? It's too late in the day for me to give you the details. I got them here. We could talk about them. But the translation that says fat of lambs translates the word that they translated lamb. In the other two passages in the Old Testament where it appeared, it translated pastures both times. Isn't that interesting? In Isaiah chapter 30 and verse 23, livestock will graze in a roomy pasture. And in Psalm 65:13, the pastures are clothed with flocks. It'd be kind of awkward to say the lambs are clothed with flocks, wouldn't it? So it comes out the pastures are clothed with flocks. But either one gives us the idea. What's the idea? That the righteous are going to enjoy the fat of the lamb. The lambs here would be the fat which is offered up in the sacrifice, and it goes up in smoke upon the altar. Pastures that are withering here, fat's going up in smoke, the pastures are withering. Either way you translate it, comes out to the same thing, doesn't it? There's an end to what the wicked are doing. And then we have another contrast here. The wicked borrows and does not pay back, but the righteous is gracious and gives. For those blessed by him will inherit the land, but those cursed by him will be cut off. Now, probably the idea of the wicked borrowing and not repaying here is more from inability than in restlessness. It's talking to us about how those who are wicked are going to be cut off. It's talking to us about how they're going to have a quick end to what they can do, and probably they're not repaying what they borrowed because they're not able to repay. Things have turned south on them. That's probably the idea here. The righteous is gracious. Probably he does not borrow in the first place unless he really needs it. Not careless in the way he borrows. And then when he is borrowing, he's very careful to pay it back. But that's not what's talking about here. The righteous is gracious and gives. He has some extra, you see. He has some that he's not hoarding to himself. He says, well, this is what God has given me. Where can I give it? Where can I distribute it? So the righteous is gracious and gives. For those blessed by him will inherit the land, but those cursed by him will be cut off. So you can be gracious and give when you know you're going to inherit the land. You know, if you're looking forward to, I don't know if I can squeak by, then you might not want to give. But if you're looking forward to inheriting the whole land, then you might say, you know, I can afford to give. God's going to take care of me. And I'm going to have such an abundance that who cares about the little bit I'm giving now? So, those cursed by him will be cut off, but those blessed by him are going to inherit the land. Verse 23, the steps of a man are established by the Lord, and he delights in his way. When he falls, he will not be hurled headlong, because the Lord is the one who holds his hands. Well, the steps of a man are established by the Lord. The Lord's directing our paths. And it speaks of our paths in terms of steps. That puts it down to kind of small stuff, doesn't it? Each step directed by the Lord. That's an encouragement. And when he falls. So, you really wanted this to say he will never fall, right? But it didn't say that, did it? It says, when he falls, he will not be hurled headlong, because the Lord is the one who holds his hand. You know that my wife has taken a fall or two, and when we walk, she likes to hold on to my elbow, because if she trips, she has a chance to recover instead of fall. But you know who can help you even better than your husband's elbow? The Lord sustaining. Now, I know there's a lot more in this psalm that I didn't talk about, but you get the idea, don't you? God is telling us, don't fret. Do not fret because of all the wickedness. Don't fret about the fact that they're prospering. Feel sorry for them. Why would you feel sorry for them? This is all they've got. It's coming to an end. They're going to be cut off. Rejoice in the Lord. Be glad in what he is providing for you. And cut out the fretting. I'm preaching to me. Well, it's been good to be with you this morning. Thank you for being here. I hope that God's Word has been a blessing to your heart and soul and will be a guide to your path. Let's pray. Our Father and our God.